Welcome back to News USA. It is Friday, November 27th. It is the day after Thanksgiving. I hope that everyone had a good Thanksgiving and everything went well. I know some people probably had a sad Thanksgiving given the things that are going on in the world right now and in the United States with the coronavirus. So some people may have had a, more of a lonely type of Thanksgiving, but just wanted to come on today and just go over some of the top news stories that have come out this week. Figured I'd do just kind of a breakdown of everything all together and do it that way instead of making some individual videos. And this might be something that I continue to do on maybe Fridays or Saturdays or whatnot, depending on how it goes. But just wanted to do something a little different this weekend. As I stated, hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Bear with me. This is going to be just off the cuff, no real strategy, no real lineup. Just going to go through a few of the stories. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Make sure you turn on the channel's notifications. That way you know when we go live so that you can join the live streams. We hope to have you here. So let's just go ahead and get started. As you see here on your screen, you see this story about Trump saying that he will leave if the Electoral College does go ahead and votes for the president-elect, former vice president, but the current president-elect. At least that's the way it looks. Joe Biden. Trump says that he will leave. He did a press conference yesterday. If you follow the channel, you probably saw the video that we did. I'm sure everybody has heard about it. But he did about 35 minutes or so where he sat down and was talking to the press, and he was questioned quite a bit about that, about whether he would leave or not. And during the event, it got a little feisty. Apparently, Mr. Trump didn't like the way a press personnel, or whatever you want to call him, asked him a question, and he got a little bit upset. And here's what he had to say. Let's take a listen to the audio.
If the Electoral College votes for Joe Biden on December 14th, will you concede the election?
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud. So as to whether or not I can get this apparatus moving this quickly, because time isn't on our side. Everything else is on our side. Facts are on our side. This was a massive fraud. This should never take place in this country. We're like a third world country. We have machines that nobody knows what the hell they're looking at. I think it's a possibility. They're trying to look. Between you people, don't talk to me that way. You're just a lightweight. Don't talk to me that way. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way. All right, I'm going to go with another question.
So there was the president yesterday on Thanksgiving, had a little back and forth with a member of the media. Didn't like what was being said. After this sit down in this session with the media, apparently quite a few folks took to Twitter and pointed out the small desk that the president was sitting at, and also pointed out a couple of other things, saying that he looked like he had a diaper on. So it turned out to be this really big thing. It was trending all over Twitter or whatnot. And Trump, after all of this happened, Trump declared that Twitter was a national security threat after hashtag Diaper Don trends following meltdown at miniature table. Let's take a look at this. Here's a quote from the president. Twitter is sending out totally false trends that have absolutely nothing to do with what is really trending in the world. They make it up and only negative stuff. Let's see. Mr. Trump did not say which trending topic upset him. Excuse me, hold on for a second. Let me fix that. Mr. Trump did not say which trending topic upset him, but following Thursday's press briefing, which saw him furiously assail a reporter from behind a surprisingly small desk, the hashtag Diaper Don surged. towards the top of Twitter's trending list in the U.S. and UK. Let's take a look at what else he had to say. He says, for the purposes of national security, Section 230 must be immediately terminated. This is in reference to part of a 1996 law which protects websites from lawsuits over content posted by users. Midas Touch, an anti-Trump political action committee, took credit for the initial use of the hashtag on Friday morning, and here's their tweet that they sent out. I guess it's this side kind of profile picture of the president, and I guess they're saying that it looks like he has a diaper on or whatnot. I don't know, but they go on to say, we made Diaper Don the #1 trend in the U.S. The group tweeted adding, Trump had a meltdown and wanted to declare Twitter trends a national security threat. Yeah, I don't really agree with Trump on this one as far as getting rid of Section 230, because actually Section 230 is what kind of stops them, these social media sites from, just banning anything that they don't want. The fact that they know they're not going to be held responsible for it, kind of gives the people a little bit more freedom to say the things that they do want to say without, having to worry about it being taken down from anyone, or from them. Here's another picture that was tweeted out. I guess this is the small table that everybody's talking about. And this is actually not a photoshopped picture. This is actually a real photo. So this is what's been going around. President Trump obviously did not like it. He wants to ban the Section 230 protection for these social media sites. And I mean, that's his own, thoughts. But, in a fight to try to stop censorship or whatnot, especially on the Republican side, because Republicans already feel as if they're being censored for, pretty much everything that they say, and anything that is pro, the left side or pro liberal is being pushed into the forefront. So I think that would kind of, cancel out the common goal of the right to make sure that they do have the freedom to say what they want to say. Let's take a look at another one. If you follow the channel, we did a story where a judge had postponed or halted the finalizing of the election results in Pennsylvania until today, Friday. I haven't seen too much on that, what the results were, but the Trump administration did lose an appeal of the Pennsylvania election case. Let's take a look at what this has to say. A federal appeals court on Friday rejected an attempt by President Donald Trump's reelection campaign to keep alive its effort to undo the result of Pennsylvania's presidential election. The blistering opinion from a panel of judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, all three of whom were nominated by Republican presidents, said that the Trump campaign's claims have no merit. Okay. The opinion marks the latest court loss for Trump, who has refused to concede the election to Biden and is falsely asserting that he won the race. On Wednesday, Trump flatly stated, "We have to turn the election over." Yeah, that's not a good thing. Shouldn't be doing that. Let's take a look here. Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, had argued on behalf of the Trump campaign in the case before U.S. District Court Judge Matthew Brann in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. Giuliani has led the Trump campaign's charge in the court of public opinion, spreading unproven claims of widespread voter fraud that he asserts tipped the outcome of the election. But the appeals court noted in its 21-page opinion that when standing before Brann in a courtroom, Giuliani said that the campaign doesn't plead fraud in the case. In the appeals court noted in its 21-page opinion that when standing before Brann in a courtroom, Giuliani said that the campaign doesn't plead fraud in the case. Okay, then why is Trump and everyone and in his team, including Giuliani, outside of the courtroom saying that there is widespread voter fraud, but when they get in front of a judge, they're saying that it's, they're not pleading that it's fraud. They're not saying that this is fraud. It's probably because they know that they don't have enough concrete evidence, and in doing so, people can use their right to lose their right to practice law if they come into the courtroom with just false claims and wasting the court's time. That is frowned upon quite heavily in the legal world. Looks like they go on to say calling an election unfair does not make it so. The Third Circuit's opinion read, charges require specific allegations and then proof. We have neither here. Another Trump campaign lawyer, Jenna Ellis, later Friday tweeted a joint statement with Giuliani claiming the activist judicial machinery in Pennsylvania continues to cover up the allegations of massive fraud. Okay. So I guess in this case, if you are, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican, if you lean left or right, if you are not completely on board with the fact that without evidence we can just claim fraud, then you're a part of the apparatus who wants to get rid of President Trump. Meanwhile, let's take a look back up here. Opinion from a panel of judges on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit, all three of whom were nominated by Republican presidents. Okay, all of them were nominated by Republicans. So I'm suspecting that these guys are Republicans as well. If they're Republicans, what do they have against Trump? I mean, fair question. I would think, they're supposed to be on the same side, right? Unless they're never Trumpers. I mean, we don't know that. Maybe the case is that there really isn't that much evidence. They don't have that much evidence, and they don't have any real strong ground to stand on. So that was another story I wanted to take a look at today. Another interesting story. Let's see what we got here. Trump pardons Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn has been pardoned this week. I think he was pardoned yesterday on Thanksgiving. That's when Trump went ahead and pardoned him for his possible or alleged involvement in working with Russians. And we all remember the whole Russiagate, the whole thing that was going on the first couple of years of Trump's presidency. I saw a lot of back and forth on whether or not Trump was wrong to pardon him, or if he had the right to pardon Michael Flynn, or, a lot of people were speaking out. Nancy Pelosi didn't like it. I don't know why Nancy Pelosi is saying too much of anything. We know that she kind of has a pretty checkered history, but nonetheless, she was speaking out against it, said it was an abuse of power. And, there was some back and forth on whether he was actually guilty or not. And I did some research. Let's start off with the pardoning power. Let's take a look here. Give me a second. Yep. The president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states. When called into the actual service of the United States, he may require the opinion in writing of the principal officer in each of the executive departments upon any subject relating to the duties of their respective offices, and he shall have power to grant reprieves and pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment. Okay, so pretty much he can pardon whoever he wants to pardon. He has that power. He can pardon anyone with offenses against the United States, except in the case of impeachment. If the president, doesn't matter who he is, Trump, anybody. If a president is being brought up on impeachment, he does not have the power to pardon himself. Can't do that. It would have to stand the impeachment. I also took a look at some documents. This is grassley.senate.gov. This is the unclassified documents. It's actually the transcript of what Flynn was saying to this Russian, whatever you want to call him. I can't think of the word right now. Ambassador. There you go. Ambassador Sergei Kislyak. So that's his name. You can take a look at this. I don't want to go through this too much. This has all of the back and forth between the two, General Flynn and Kislyak. It also has the broken down transcript. So you can go on here and take a look at it. Whether or not he was guilty or not, he sure pleaded guilty a couple of times. Let's jump over here and take a look. This is the factual background. This is the actual case, the U.S. CA case number 20-5143. You guys can look this up as well, justsecurity.org. This is the actual information coming from that case. And let's take a look at a few of the details to kind of help make a decision on, whether you think this guy's guilty or not. On December 1st, 2017, Mr. Flynn waived indictment and pleaded guilty to a one-count criminal information charging him with making materially false statements in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001. Let's take a look. Let's move down. Okay, Mr. Flynn's plea agreement incorporated the statement of offense, and in consideration for his guilty plea, the prosecutors agreed not to charge him further for that conduct. Okay. Okay, Judge Rudolph Contreras took his initial plea. Judge Contreras placed Mr. Flynn under oath, confirming his understanding that if you do not answer my questions truthfully, you could be prosecuted for perjury or making a false statement. Mr. Flynn then confirmed that he had sufficient time to consult with his attorneys and was satisfied with the services that they had provided. Okay, that's very important. He was satisfied with the services that they provided. So which means he was okay to move forward with the case or the hearing. All right. Let's take a look at here. The government also provided a detailed description of why each statement was materially false. And Mr. Flynn agreed with the government's recitation in that he, in fact, did what the government has stated that it can prove at trial. Okay. Mr. Flynn then confirmed his guilt of making false statements in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1001 after agreeing that he understood the proceedings and did not have any further questions or any questions. Shortly after the entry of Mr. Flynn's guilty plea, the case was randomly reassigned to Judge Sullivan. Thereafter, Judge Sullivan entered a standing order advising the government of its continuing obligation to provide exculpatory evidence to Mr. Flynn pursuant to Brady versus Maryland. Okay, let's move on. Judge Sullivan presided over his first status hearing on July 10th, 2018. He made clear that the timing of the sentences was up to the parties and that he had no intention to micromanage what's going on with the parties in this case vis-a-vis cooperation. Okay. Okay, let's take a look here. The government's memorandum reiterated that Mr. Flynn's false statements in both the January 2017 FBI interview and the March 2017 DOJ filings were material under 1001, docket 46 at 2-4. Mr. Flynn did not take issue with the government's description of his offense. All right. As such, the court concludes that it must now first ask Mr. Flynn certain questions to ensure that he entered his guilty plea knowingly, voluntarily, intelligently, and with fulsome and satisfactory advice of counsel. This is the part that I really wanted to get to. Bear with me, folks. They go on to say, I cannot recall any incident in which the court has ever accepted a plea of guilty from someone who maintained that he was not guilty, and I don't intend to start today. After being placed under oath again, Mr. Flynn confirmed that he did not wish to challenge the circumstances surrounding his FBI interview. By pleading guilty, he would be giving up forever his right to challenge that interview. He knew at the time of his interview that lying to the FBI was a crime. He was satisfied with the services provided by his attorneys. Mr. Flynn also disclaimed any reliance on revelations that certain FBI officials involved in the interview were being investigated for misconduct. Okay, and Judge Sullivan told Mr. Flynn that he could move to withdraw his guilty plea, that he could take a break. He could take a break and confer further with his attorneys in a private room, and that he could get a second opinion from an independent court appointed attorney on whether to withdraw his plea. Despite these, hold on, Give me a second. Despite these offers, Mr. Flynn persisted in admitting his guilt a second time under oath. Okay. And here is a little bit of the breakdown. The court, Mr. Flynn, anything else you want to discuss with me about your plea of guilty? This is not a trick. I'm not trying to trick you. If you want some time to withdraw your plea or try to withdraw your, trying to trick you. If you want some time to withdraw your plea or try to withdraw your plea, I'll give you that time. If you want to proceed because you are guilty of this offense, I will finally accept your plea. So the defendant, he goes to say, I'd like to proceed, Your Honor. The court, all right, because you are guilty of this offense. The defendant, yes, Your Honor. Okay, so there you have it. He was given multiple chances to recant his statements or whatnot, and he still went ahead and said that he was guilty. So, I mean, why would you plead guilty that many times if you know that you're not guilty? And I think the only reason that he came back and recanted and said, no, I felt like I was under pressure, I'm not guilty. I just felt like I had to plead guilty because I was under pressure, is because Trump came out and said, hey, I'm thinking of pardoning General Flynn. Yeah. Now that he has that in his ear, okay, I'm going to quit cooperating with the government. Now I'm not going to cooperate because if I can get pardoned, then I'm good to go. I don't have to worry about anything. So that's probably what changed all of that, to be honest. So just wanted to go over this. Is he guilty? Probably. Trump does have the right to pardon him, but probably shouldn't have. I mean, if he wasn't guilty, why would you pardon somebody? You don't need a pardon if you didn't commit a crime. So, I mean, pretty much the writing's on the wall. Let's move on. I think this came out today. Israel may have killed top Iranian nuclear weapons scientist to avert dangerous threat. This Iranian scientist was killed today. If you guys remember, I think it was a little bit over a week ago, maybe a few days ago, this story came out. Okay, we've got an ad. Let's get that out the way. Come on. Israeli military instructed to prepare for Trump strike on Iran. This came out a few days ago, 25. This is being reported on the 25th. Israeli military is preparing for the possibility that the Trump administration will launch a military strike in Iran, Axios reported on Wednesday. Senior Israeli officials told the outlet that the Israeli government instructed military commanders to prepare for a potential strike during the very sensitive period between now and when President-elect Joe Biden takes office. I really think that this was just a diversion. Because it appears, let's take a look back over here, that Israel may have been the one who carried out the assassination on this guy or the murder. And it appears that being a Iranian scientist who is working on their nuclear program is a dangerous job. I looked it up. Between 2010 and 2012, 4 Iranian nuclear scientists were assassinated. So this is a common thing. The governments from outside of Iran, adversaries of Iran, they are doing whatever they can, all the way up to killing the scientists to set back Iran from having nuclear weapons, which is, I mean, they must be I know that Iran is a threat, but I mean, there must be some serious intel that if they do get, uranium, and they're able to develop nuclear weapons, they must know that they are really going to get out of control with it, because they are doing whatever is necessary to make sure that they slow that production down. And that's a tough job to take. If you are a scientist who has a background in the nuclear field and you're working with Iran, you've got a target on you for sure. But that's pretty much it. These are the main top stories that I wanted to go over. Anybody who does listen to this after the fact, after it is streamed, I appreciate you. Thank you very much for stopping by and listening. As I said, hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. That's it for now. Stay tuned to News USA.